Welcome, everyone. My lovely guest today is Michelle Saya. So, Michelle uses evolutionary astrology and astrocartography to help you live and lead in alignment with your soul's calling. So, I'm very excited for this one. So I have actually done some work with Michelle in a few years ago. So, I was like, bring her on. Let's bring her on. And astrocartography is really interesting for me. It's been coming up a lot, but tell us a little about like a little bit about yourself and how did you first discover, firstly, evolutionary astrology and
Mhm.
astrocartography, and what made you decide to turn this into your life's work, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. What a great question. So, yes, and also thank you for having me on this podcast. Super honored to be here. Love reconnecting with you. I
Yeah.
cannot believe it's already been years since we last reconnected. So,
No.
yes, I blend evolutionary astrology and Hellenistic astrology, formally trained in both in Western tropical, focusing on whole sign and Placidus. Started out as well, I've been working as a business astrologer. So that's actually like the session that we connected through
Yeah.
with. So that's what I've been known as since the pandemic. I started getting into astrology right at the height of the pandemic. I came out of the spiritual closet, if you will.
Hmm.
Um, and that's like a whole big story. But I dove into entrepreneurship when I had a really traumatic workplace shooting, working in higher education, working in corporate.
Wow.
And that just kind of turned on a switch within me. So that was what led me to really explore this, like experience this ego death. I left a relationship that I thought was going to work out, but it wasn't. And this relationship, the family, they were very religious or Catholic, and they didn't like that I was interested in the occult, interested in diving into tarot, like all of these tools.
Yeah.
Um, Even connecting with ancestors was considered like a sin. So these
Mhm.
are things that really went against my own intuition. And so I was really numb
Yeah.
during those years. And so that workplace shooting really woke me up. And when I went to Bali to go on like my own version of Eat, Pray, Love, I sold everything. I quit my job. I left that relationship. Um, Went to Bali and just allowed myself to kind of go through this ego death and just kind of reconnect with myself. And that was during that time I got so many spiritual downloads. It was so uncomfortable. It was so
Hmm.
uncomfortable. And
Hmm.
we can talk about like the astrocartography to these places too in just a bit because it's fascinating looking at it now.
Yeah.
But in Bali, it was where I connected with like spiritual healing, medicine workers, astrologers for like really for the first time.
Mm.
That really opened my eyes to this whole new world. This happened, I think it was about 2016, late 2016, 2017, this happened. And after that trip, so I came back with all of these downloads, but unintegrated. I was like, what do I do with all of this? Because I
Hmm.
still had a lot of like wounds to work through. The work just got started. The shadow work just got started.
Yep. Know it well.
Yeah, so I felt like I really started at the bottom. I used to have this cushy job with like a pension fund and everything. Everything felt secure. And then I felt like everything just kind of had a huge tower moment. So I moved back in with my parents, really didn't want to. I felt like a complete failure after Bali, and I had no idea what to do. I so at that time, I was still stuck in the spiritual closet though. So I knew that what I needed to do was start entrepreneurship. And so I actually started a skincare company that really took off during that time. Yeah, during that year that I was working in my my mom's like living room, it was just filled with boxes. It like turned into almost like a mini skincare warehouse. It was a hot mess. But it worked out. I saved up money, it worked out. So I did that during the daytime. And at nighttime, I was studying astrology. and I was like working with tarot. And
Hmm.
I would hide the tools under, like, this is so embarrassing. Like I would hide it under like my bra and like panty drawers so they
Never
wouldn't
gonna go in
see
there.
my, yeah. But my mom, she's very nosy and
Hmm.
she would rummage through my stuff. And that's a whole like Asian culture thing. She'd rummage through my tarot cards and stuff and throw it away. She'll toss it.
Wow.
Yeah. She's just like, you are this is like, she's not even religious, but she was like, no, this is like darkness. This is, yeah, it was rough. It was rough. I got tested a lot. Even my little brothers, because I'm the eldest sister in the family, I have two younger brothers. Even they were like, Michelle, we're really worried about you. Why are you like why are you saying spiritual downloads and all of these things?
Wow.
And so I knew that in the back of my mind, this skincare business, as it was taking off, like it exceeded my corporate salary and even more than that. And I was able to kind of build a nest egg for myself in just that span of like a year. And I knew it was like my stepping stone to getting out,
Yeah.
that like staying with my parents was temporary.
Hmm.
And so I I made the move to like go move to New York again because New York, the East Coast was when I went off to college and then pursued, my career, worked in corporate, had the shooting,
Hmm.
came back home with like my tail tucked between my legs, but then dove into entrepreneurship. And I'm like, I'm gonna try New York again. Like, I'm
Hmm.
gonna try that again. Went back. That's when I met my then partner, who's now my husband. And even like New York, I have a series descendant line in astrocartography that talks a bit about like meeting your partner. And so all this is to say, like it feels like I go through like this growth spiral where I go back to these certain places. And at the time, I'm like, why? Why do I feel drawn to these certain places? They're painful. Painful things happen.
Hmm.
And astrocartography then opens up the world to like diving into the nuances of those stories. There's a lot of spiritual lessons and growth in all of these places. So yeah, going back to New York for the first time, for the second time, and then with my then partner growing that skincare business, and then the pandemic happened. COVID happened
Yep.
a year after. Yeah. And then we we traveled, like we moved to Canada where I stayed in Toronto. And that was some of the best times that I had. That was when during the pandemic I decided, you know what, I'm gonna get into astrology. Because
Mm.
the skincare business like closed literally overnight
Of
when the
course.
pandemic happened.
Yeah.
It didn't work out anymore. We had those lockdowns. So I was like, it's now or never.
Yep. Yep.
It's now or never. Yeah, so that was when I dove into astrology. And because I've worked in business, I used some of the principles I learned in astrology and techniques and I tested it. I asked for a couple people on Instagram who would like to do like a beta test program with me, be like, hey, there's these strategies that worked for me with like looking at astrology natal chart with certain marketing strategies to grow businesses. Like I would like to test it with you guys. So I
Mhm.
brought in about 10 people and then the results were really fascinating, like looking at their chart and making those correlations. And that was when this business was born, like doing astrology business and marketing. So I did that for like I've been doing that since then from 2020. Now that we're in 2026, so it's been 6 years of doing astrology, business astrology and branding. But it wasn't until about late 2024, 2025, something shifted within me. I
Mhm.
felt like there was another ego death
Mhm.
happening. Coincidentally, that was around the time where, we have the president that we have now in the United States.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yep. And that was around the time 2024, 2025. I was still focusing on business astrology and I was doing monthly workshops
Mm-hmm.
teaching us like astrology with like Chiron, Lilith, and whatnot. But a lot of my business astrology clients would email me, message me in the DMs, and they're like, Michelle, do you offer astrocartography? Like, can I do an astrocartography reading with you? And at first I resisted. I resisted the call because I told myself, Michelle, don't get distracted. You specialize in business astrology.
Mm-hmm.
But the call kept getting stronger and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, in human design, I'm a manifesting generator. So
Same.
it's like, okay,
Hit me.
my sacral is getting
Yeah.
lit up. I don't know what this is. I'm a little terrified because I also don't really want to move.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I have to move myself. And I've always been like curious about astrocartography and just kind of doing it behind the scenes, studying it with my own chart and also with my husband's and kind of back testing that, but never offering it to
Mm-hmm.
the public.
Mm-hmm.
So it was around like all of last year, 2025, I started kind of not promoting it on my website, just slowly taking people in through the DMs. I'm like, okay, I'll
Mm-hmm.
work with you. Let's look at your astrocartography. And I fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh my gosh, why did I hold off on this? Like this is wild. Why was I so resistant to it? Um, and I think that's a deeper shadow work that I've been working on for all of last year and this year. It's this feeling of like leaving family has always been this fear and wound of mine due to childhood abandonment and all of that. And so me offering the service naturally makes me have to confront that part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so fast forward to 2026, like 2025 flown right by. Now I'm doing both business astrology and now also astrocartography, helping people find really places to help them thrive, especially leaving their own jobs. A lot of them, I have a lot of clients that also were fired. They work government jobs and they were
Mm-hmm.
laid off because of this new administration.
Wow.
And this was their sign to
Yep.
start their own business.
Yep.
And a lot of the people I work with are people of color as well. And they don't feel safe living in this country, unfortunately. And so they, yeah, they've been consulting with me on other places that, not only makes them feel safe, but grounds their nervous system, help them thrive when it comes to their career and business. So that's a long, long-winded story on how this all came to me. Yeah.
I love that. And I think there's a few components there. Like, firstly,
Mhm.
on the entrepreneur's journey. So this is my second business. I owned, I don't know if you remember, but I owned a seven-figure digital media marketing and technology recruitment company. So I built that from scratch and it was very successful, had it for 7.5 years. So this is my second business. So I love like, what I've realized on the entrepreneur journey is sometimes you got to move back to your parents. Sometimes you have to beg, borrow, and steal to get going, like it sometimes it's not like things aren't just landed. You will be given the support that you need, and it might not be the
Mhm.
support that you think, but you will be given the support that you need. And some of the lessons are to ask for help, right? And then
Mhm.
the second component is a lot of same here. It's like a lot of the people that have gone through awakenings, it comes through loss, comes through tragedy, a loss of a job, a loss of a relationship, a person that's passed away, some level of tragedy that just purely awakens them up. And tell me a
Mhm.
time in history, especially within the States right now, where that is happening so intensely. So it makes sense that you've moved, or not moved, but you've added astrocartography to your skill set. I also love, because you've come from a business background as well, that you did a beta test. And this is something that I think if people are moving into doing a spiritual business or a coaching business or whatever it is, like you have to almost give things for free. You have to test things, like because you're building up especially if it's
Mhm.
new, you're building up like your testimonials, your resonance of what works for you, what you can see the results as. So I love that you did a beta test also, firstly, like always recommend that. But for those out there, because astrocartography isn't, I would say, probably widely known like astrology is. So can you
Mhm.
like demystify what that is and how
Mhm.
that works maybe for personal growth or like career expansion? Because it's really, again, it's just
Yeah.
an addition to what you do with astrology and supporting people in their
Mhm.
life and their business. So how does astrocartography specifically fit into that?
Yeah, it's a specific system within the realm of astrology where essentially your birth chart, the place and time and day of your birth is superimposed
Hmm.
onto a global map.
Mm,
So based off of, where the angles and the planets in your chart, that's superimposed with the latitude and longitude lines on the map. And we use that to then determine the different places that you want to live, depending on the goals that you have for yourself, because
hmm.
everybody has different goals. So let's say if someone is looking for love,
Yes.
we look at their like current place of living, and we even look at the relocated chart
Uh-huh.
because the relocated chart is also it's kind of like another layer in addition to your birth chart. Your birth chart will always be like the default that
Mm-hmm.
you can always refer back to. But the relocated chart is another extension of how your life, your consciousness can activate and play out in that given place in the world. And it also shows up with like different storylines, potential timelines. It
Mm-hmm.
opens up to different, because we all have free will. So depending on where you go, it opens up new timelines, like higher timelines that you can activate if you so choose to.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on some places, it also activates hard lessons, but ultimately it's to help for soul evolution, spiritual growth. And so, uh, in a sense, astrocartography, it's just another helpful tool to help break out of wherever you're feeling stuck in the world. Maybe you've done everything else, like you have kept yourself accountable, you're taking all the steps for growing your career, your business, finding love, you're putting yourself out there. But maybe at the end of the day, it really just comes down to that place.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just time to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just time to leave. And so I find that that's not talked about enough, but now it's
Yeah.
talked about because everyone is kind of feeling that energy. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've always said, so I've lived in Scotland, I've lived in London, I lived in New York for a little bit, and I live in Australia as well, and I've lived in different parts of Australia. And I've always said, I was like, me and my friend, we actually wanted to do a road trip around the States this year, but we're probably not going to do that based on the state of what's happening over there. But I always said we were like our partners are like in the States. They're not here in Australia. Like there's just that feeling. Or it's like, or
Mhm.
potentially if I move back to London, but it feels like it is more around like the States. So hence why we were going to go over on a holiday, but then like let's go find our partners kind of trip.
Yeah.
So and sometimes you have that pull and that call, right? And how would that work? So for me, like there's probably a couple of I mean, obviously, I've moved around strategically, and I was
Mhm.
pulled back to Australia to this land, to
Mhm.
build my career and my other business. I have also in my lifetime, like I think it was maybe 2016, 17, or 18, I was pulled to go to Hawaii and I was pulled to go to the Philippines, and I had
Mhm.
huge spiritual experiences in those places. They were really huge anchoring spiritually evolutionary places for me, and I just knew I had to go there. How does that fit
Mhm.
in? If people have that same like pull to go somewhere, they might not have necessarily the same awareness of like why they need to go
Mhm.
there, but does that fit into like astrocartography?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually presented something really important. I've noticed with a lot of clients, the places that they choose. When people book my astrocartography readings, I say choose up to 4 places in the world that you really want to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 out of the 4 places, usually, I found it's actually quite challenging lines.
Wow.
It's quite challenging. And I've attributed, and I myself, like without even looking at astrocartography, I've went to all of these places like Bali, Amsterdam, Spain,
Mm,
China, Japan, New York, like all of these places. And looking back on it, they were also on very difficult lines. And I think people like intuition, the soul, I think the soul just knows there's something that needs to be experienced for soul growth. And oftentimes, the biggest soul growth does unfortunately come through hard
yeah,
experiences. I wish it wasn't so,
I know.
but
One
that's
day.
just part of it's just part of the human experience. And so depending on, what the soul agreement was before coming here, maybe there was certain things that the person really needed to experience or learn.
Hmm.
Like for example, the place that I was born in, where I'm currently living right now, is actually close, very close to where I was born. And this place is actually on some really challenging lines that I'm on. So it's on a Pluto descendant line. I
Hmm.
have like a listicle of all the places and all the lines. It's on a Pluto descendant line. It's on a Chiron IC line.
Oh.
It's on a Sun Saturn Paran line. And so with Chiron IC line, Chiron IC can be actually very challenging. I see Imam Kweli representing the private foundations of the chart. It's
Mhm.
opposing the midheaven, which is all about public, career, reputation. But IC is like family foundation, childhood foundations. And Chiron IC, it does point to challenges, pain, vulnerabilities. And so we have to look at the birth chart to also kind of see what that story is. And so I actually had a lot of really tough experiences here during childhood. I have Chiron and Leo in the third house. Third house represents, it can represent your local environment, elementary school. I went through a lot of severe bullying um, that my parents had to kind of relocate me to different schools and also like take me out of school because the school administration didn't know what to do with the bullying.
Wow.
I've had a lot of near-death experiences here. I
Mm,
contracted something where I had a couple days before complete organ failure, almost drowned here. So
my
the
gosh.
Chiron and the Pluto is not
Yeah.
a joke. It's like really brutal.
And do any of
Yeah,
those lines associate with like past life influences as well?
yes,
Would that be Chiron?
definitely past life. Yeah, I also have
Yeah.
a North Node descendant line here, so I feel like I have a lot of past life energy, but specifically with my family members.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
think
was feeling.
I have a feeling that last past life, maybe like my mom and I especially switched roles, probably in a past life, possibly.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
and definitely with siblings. But
Hmm.
yeah, like I for some reason, before coming to this life, I signed a really tough soul contract, soul agreement. So yeah, coming here like within a month of me being born, my grandfather died, and my parents basically left me with an extended relative. And so I was a 1 month old with like no parents for a year. They just literally just abandoned me. And they
Wow.
came back a year later. But
Yeah.
it's a very shaky childhood
Foundation.
foundation.
Absolutely. And the actually
Yeah.
'cause, you might see past lives, so it's one of my
Mhm.
gifts. And I actually do see
Cool.
that. You know what it is? It kind of comes through like like the Cinderella story, almost where your
Mhm.
mom is kind of like this cowering little um girl, and you are like as the mother or like an older sister it feels like you're like hitting
Mhm.
her with a broom. So it's almost like this karma, and this is the thing, right? We have karmic retribution. We've not always been
Yeah.
the best people in all of our lifetimes, but often we're here to balance the karma, right? So it kind of feels
Yeah.
like there was that kind of dynamic, a bullying dynamic toward your mom,
Mhm.
and a very stern, strict, like dic dictatorship experience
Yeah.
with that dynamic. And it's almost like it had to be rebalanced out in this
Flip-flop. Yeah.
lifetime. Yeah, which is we're like,
I
oh. Crazy. I've had the
I
same with
felt
my
that
mom too,
too.
and I was like, I'm so sorry, I was a bitch to you. I'm so sorry. But
I
see it in
it's
that lens.
interesting. It's so fascinating that you share that, and thank you for sharing that because I feel that way. I get that sense. Sometimes I joke with my husband. I'm like, what did I do that was so horrible in my past lives that I am dealing with these situations, especially with health issues. I have chronic health issues,
Do you have
especially
asthma?
in this
Like with the
asthma,
lungs and the heart?
heart issues,
That's how I'm feeling
even
it. Yeah, I'm literally feeling like this whole space just completely congested. Um,
yeah.
I'm actually seeing you've inhaled a lot of fire and smoke. It's like so I'm actually seeing as well a sorry, we've just gone into a little reading here.
Mhm.
Actually seeing you working in like a warehouse. It feels like an orphan's warehouse, and you
Yes.
actually set a fire. It's like you accidentally, like you were just curious, but there was a part of you that didn't actually think a fire was going to start, but you started a fire and it actually burned down the whole orphanage, and you got like a lot
Mm.
of smoke inhalation, and there were some deaths as well, but you were a kid. It wasn't like, and it's almost like you're holding this guilt, and it feels like this is part of why you are here to help other people, because
Mm.
you are you hold it's almost like this shame and this guilt of what happened, but it was an accident. And it's just, like when kids
Mm.
do things that they don't mean to do and they just hold this level of shame about themselves. It's like
Yeah.
you carry this in, and it makes sense with your childhood as well. It's like the themes that happen and how we feel in our childhood, the abandonment,
Mm.
the shame, we carry that into our life. But it does feel like everything that you are doing to help heal and support and take care and guide other people is is healing all of this, is healing that little, and it was a little boy, is healing this little boy, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
So these health
Yeah.
issues is like
Mhm.
inhalation, like can't breathe, inhalation, smoke damage is what it feels like.
Yeah. My husband's been very concerned about me at night because he says it sounds like I just stopped breathing
It was at
at
night,
night.
yeah. It was at night.
Yeah, and so
Like,
he's like, I think you have sleep apnea, so I have to get that
mm-hmm,
checked out.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all of that lines up, and it's funny that you brought up warehouse, like without getting too deeply into it. As a child, I worked for my parents, and I worked for it was basically a warehouse, and I contracted this powder from the materials I was working with that gave me scarlet fever,
Wow.
and that yeah, and I was forced to go to school. I had a flu. I was breaking out in hives,
Mm-hmm,
and it was like sandpaper.
mm-hmm,
This was back in like early middle school, and I was begging my mom, like, Mom, I cannot go to school. Like, I can barely stand.
mm-hmm.
And my mom just forced me to go to school. And I think I passed out. I put my head
Wow.
on the desk. I just like couldn't get up. And so
Yeah.
my mom finally took me to the doctor. And my doctor was so mad at my mom. She's like 2, 3 days away from organ failure. Like, what are you guys doing? Like,
Wow.
she's been having these symptoms for a week. And
Yeah.
my mom was just like crying on the car home, like feeling bad. And I'm like, it's just like, but like you said, I really think that my mom and I, we have a lot of intense karma to work out. And I must have been, goddess forbid, I was probably a nightmare towards her in a past life or something to have such a whiplash in this lifetime. So yeah, and the astrocartography shows it too. Like the
Mm,
lines that I would when I looked at the lines, I was like, my gosh, like it is masochistic to stay here.
yeah.
Absolutely masochistic. The longer you stay on like a significant Chiron line, the more things kind of unravel. It can be like very powerful. You gain a lot of wisdom, you gain a lot of tools on a
Yeah.
spiritual level to help yourself and other people.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes with a lot of sacrifice, a lot of pain and
Mm-hmm.
suffering.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this chronic suffering.
Yeah. So
So
is there
I
any,
always,
oh no, go ahead.
I always advise clients like try your best. Like if you want to go to Chiron line to learn what you need to learn, do it.
Yeah.
Don't stay there forever because it can literally be your undoing. Like not trying to fear monger, but I feel like there's so much toxic positivity with astrology, and I really want to like tell people when there's certain
Reality.
things that it's really tough. Like it's not a joke. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. And are there,
Yeah.
those are the harder planetary lines
Mhm.
potentially within someone's chart. Are there
Mhm.
any planetary lines or placements that tend to be really supportive for people,
Yes.
like solopreneurs building their business or finding love? I'm assuming those are the kind of two main things that people maybe come to you about, right? I'd assume.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially for like, I have clients coming to me to like, they want to recharge their batteries or they're feeling burnt out, but mainly for also career and love. So
Yeah.
usually one of the lines that we love to look at is like a Jupiter line. Sun
Mm.
line's also great, especially Jupiter MC line. Fantastic for career. Things feel like opportunities just come more naturally
Okay.
compared to maybe something like a Saturn line or a difficult Saturn paran. It feels like a lot of like start and stops, like
Mm.
5 steps forward, 10 steps back. So
Hmm.
Jupiter lines are usually really good. Venus lines are also really good for like client work, getting clients, and also finding love. The
Relationships.
only thing, the only thing that oftentimes in astrocartography people tend to overlook, we have to look at the condition of the birth chart, the person's birth chart. If that person has a difficult Venus line, the
Oh,
storyline plays out differently.
okay.
If the person has a debilitated Jupiter, like a Jupiter in Virgo in retrograde, or
Yeah.
it's making a lot of hard aspects to other placements in their chart, like Pluto, then it's a more complicated story. You can still get benefits,
Mm-hmm.
but it requires a lot more effort. It can be a little bit more strength training is required to kind of reap the rewards of like Jupiter or Venus.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for example, when I went to Toronto with my husband, it's on a Jupiter IC line.
Yeah.
When I went there, I immediately wanted to like buy a property there and just live there forever. Like I didn't want to leave.
Okay.
I didn't want to ever leave Toronto. I immediately fell in love. And I went there without checking my astrocartography. I
But
like
then
to
when
go.
you
It's
did, what happened? What was it on?
Yeah, so it's on a Jupiter icy line. It's on a Mars ascendant line. So I have actually I have a fallen Mars. My Mars is in Cancer in the second house. So this Mars ascendant line actually gave me more energy. I
Uh-huh.
felt energized. Sometimes Mars lines can be challenging for certain people. Like if someone already has a strong Mars, let's say someone has like a Mars Aries in their first house.
Mm-hmm.
If they went to a Mars line, it might be too much Mars. It might be too aggressive. It
Uh,
can also be dealing with like more patriarchal issues, like issues with men that might be very conservative, or just like confrontation, aggression, easily getting frustrated. But for me, my anger is more repressed.
yeah.
So for me going to a Mars line, it helps me actually work things out better. So
Mm,
it works out differently for people. And Japan, like when I went to Toronto, Japan, Japan's also on a nodal Jupiter Paran line. So both places, oh my gosh, like just full on abundance.
love.
Good food, clients, like money, like I didn't have to even think. Like it just felt effortless. It really did. I had some of my highest months, like when I was living in Toronto. It was like the peak of my career, and it just flowed. It flowed, and I got to enjoy life at the same
Wow.
time. It was such a different energy compared to where I'm living now. This area compared to Toronto is like night and day.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and like a place where is like more mixed was when I was living in like New York, that area.
Mhm.
So that was a place where I found my partner, now husband. So that's on my series descendant line. So Ceres is all about it's some people some astrologers argue that it's like a dwarf planet. Other astrologers argue that it's like some sort of asteroid, but we call it a celestial body just to kind of take away
Hmm.
the nuances and the arguments of that. So Ceres is all about nurturing, providing. It's good food, feeling at home, feeling cozy with oneself. And usually in astrocartography, Ceres lines are pretty solid.
Wow.
Um, Ignoring like a Ceres Pluto Paran line, that could talk about like the food doesn't agree with you, they're more likely to catch a food bug. So making sure that you're more careful with how the food's being prepared, food allergies, like taking note of that. But Ceres is mainly positive, usually signifies really good time, feeling at home with a place. And on a descendant line, which is connections with other people, it just so happened that my husband, when we first stayed and connected, like he's worked at a restaurant, he makes pasta.
Hmm.
Um, he cooks, his dad's a chef, like his whole family, his stepfather's also a chef. So he just loves cooking. And so moving there, it was just so much food. Our relationship revolved around food. It was almost like a
Heaven.
problem. But
I don't
that's
think
like a good
that's
thing.
definitely not a problem. That's a great thing. I mean, pasta all the time, yes, okay,
Yeah.
problem, but good food, no.
Yeah, so those are like some of the benefits of those lines. But the thing with like New York is most places I tell clients, there's no perfect place. There's
Mm,
always like a mixed bag. Something in your life can go like really good, and then there's other areas where you just really need extra work on it.
mhm,
It requires more like vigilance, more reflection. So, for example, New York, that area, it was where like I had the shooting happen.
wow.
That it's also on my Sun Chiron Paran line. It's on my Mars ascendant line, ECG line. And so Mars ascendant, it can go both ways. Sun Chiron can be challenging. Sun
Mm,
Chiron parans can be challenging. Chiron lines are usually challenging. If I see a client that has like a Chiron Pluto or a Chiron Mars or a Mars Pluto, avoid, avoid, avoid.
wow. Okay.
Not physical, your actual physical safety, needing to be extra careful, or maybe if someone like I've had a lot of clients they want to go to like Egypt and India, which is totally fine. It can be a great experience, but
Mm-hmm.
it just so happens like it was on some of the most challenging, like we're talking about lines where it's talking about physical safety
Wow.
and violence. And so that was where I don't tell people like avoid at all costs. I just say this is what I see. If
Mm-hmm.
you really want to go, bring a group of people with you that you trust. Make sure you tell people where you're going. Be street smart. Don't like don't
Mm-hmm.
be in places where you shouldn't be. Have a backup plan. Things like that. Just to take more precautions. Like I see it as the weather forecast. Like if you know it's gonna rain,
Mm-hmm.
if you know there's like bring rain boots, bring a raincoat, bring an umbrella, just so you can, prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much. And then for someone that has a business, say they're like
Mhm.
timing of launches or clarity around their branding or creating offers, like you said, getting new clients, could you use this for to be like, you know what, I'm gonna take myself away somewhere for a weekend and
Yes.
do this part of what I need to do for my business. Do people come to you
Yes.
for that kind of thing?
Absolutely, they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
So a lot of people they don't have the means to do a permanent relocation, but
Yeah.
they still want to reap the benefits of that place.
Yeah.
So you can just go to that place for a specific like period of time, and then we look at like the transits, what's activating. We can look at their their progress, their secondary progress charts, and figure out a time frame that can really help them like meet their goals during that point in time.
Mhm.
So sometimes if a person cannot travel to that place, a really good hack with astrocartography that a lot of people may not know about is called remote activation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. Love.
yeah, so it can be as simple as like let's say Japan, it falls on like a Jupiter MC line and you have a good well-conditioned Jupiter. in your chart.
Hmm.
So you want to activate that for your business. So you can like eat more of the cuisines. That's like go to like Japanese grocery stores, like consume the food with that intention in mind. Maybe you have like a artwork that's like the map of Japan or from a Japanese artist,
Hmm.
like within view in your home office space. If you don't even want to do that and you want to go even more simple, like you can get a VPN and change the VPN to that location.
Okay, yeah. Never even thought
Yeah,
of that. I love that.
especially if you do like online business and you want to, let's say, get more clients or meet certain goals, or let's say like you want to have more success online dating for
Mm,
some reason, like you can change the VPN to maybe that location that has maybe a strong Venus line or a Ceres descendant line, depending on your goals.
I love that. I love that. And also another thing, because obviously I work with energy, right? And intention and and your intuitive abilities. You can also just start visualizing that, right? Like manifestation, visualizing it, feeling yourself there. Imagine yourself walking down the streets. If you have like a picture or you've seen multiple like pictures of the place that you want to go to, just take yourself there in your imagination and sit in that frequency. I reckon that could absolutely be such a game changer too.
Agreed, yeah. And like even like playing the music,
Uh,
if someone struggles with visualization, even like playing music while
yeah,
you have your eyes closed, or maybe there's like an essential oil or scent that reminds you of a place.
I love
Yeah,
that.
so many different ways to
Yeah.
activate the benefits of a place without actually having to travel there. Because I know a lot of people there. We have like we currently have Jupiter in Cancer retrograde until about March 11th. So during this period of time, a lot of people might feel stuck with where they are. They can't leave right away. And
Mhm.
so I always recommend like remote activation.
I love that. I love that. And why is astrocartography? I mean, astrology, people have worked with it for such a long time, but why astrocartography right now in this particular juncture of time? Why is this such a powerful, important tool for people?
Yeah, what's really interesting now is I think we're living in there seems to be a colliding of two ideologies going on. Like as you see with geopolitics and around the world, a lot of countries are becoming more nationalistic,
Hmm.
right? A lot of people are tightening their borders in a way.
Hmm.
And then at the same time, you see also a lot of people starting to wake up to a lot of the systemic oppressions of these governments, these countries. It's not just the United States, it's with a lot of different countries.
Yeah.
And so there is this collective consciousness rising currently at this point in time. Astrologically, like just yesterday, we had the lunar eclipse in Aquarius and also the start of the Lunar New Year, the start of the fire horse here in Chinese astrology. And the fire horse is all about activating that inner courage and going on a long journey.
Hmm.
Horses, they go on long journeys.
Hmm.
They travel. They're the travelers.
Hmm.
And so I think people are more unified than they think in consciousness, in unified consciousness. And it's like we kind of all have this um urge, this feeling of like, wait, is where I'm currently at where I'm supposed to be?
Hmm.
Like, I feel like there's something more to this. And I also have a feeling that people would probably, also have a um, empathy scarcity epidemic. I feel like people are becoming more and more polarized. And I have this theory, maybe it's the Sagittarius in me,
Yeah.
that if people actually traveled more, like, and integrated with different cultures and understand that everyone has different ways of living and traditions, maybe we would be less judgmental of each other. There would be less racism, less prejudice, and we would actually just be okay with people being who they are with wherever they are. Like we are all part of like Earth. We're all brothers and sisters inhabiting this globe. Like, I don't understand why all these like man-made systematic constructs of borders and these countries and regulations to oppress people. Like, I get it from like a human ego standpoint.
Yeah.
From a spiritual standpoint, it just feels very backwards.
Yeah, totally. I always say if you want to grow as a person,
Hmm.
travel. I've been so thankfully, gratefully lucky to travel a lot of the world, and I've lived in many, many different places. And it really creates a completely different person than if you were to stay in your hometown for all of your life. It's like it opens you up to so many things, like you said, so many cultures, so many different ways of living, so many things. It's unbelievable. I will always say if I was to hire people again, it's it's someone that's well traveled, someone that has explored these different things, because it really, puts things in perspective, especially when you have to go and travel and be independent and try and figure things out on your own. Your problem solving skills get better at best. So it really is, it really is something that I would urge every single person to do is to try and travel, to go to those
Yeah.
places, like to wake you up, to find new experiences. It's really important. And have you seen like when it comes to people's like charts or even just their astrological signs, like if their top three, if they have certain signs in it, are they more do they have a propensity more for travel? I mean, Sagittarius probably, it's one of my big three, but have you noticed that
Yeah.
if you be more Sagittarius travel than
Um,
anyone else?
So if someone has a very active like third house or ninth house, I
Hmm.
would say there could be a lot of traveling, especially if we have like benefic planets there, like Jupiter or Mars. Mars is that will to travel. So third house, ninth house can speak to that.
Yeah.
Third house can speak to more like traveling locally, like maybe within the country. Ninth house is traveling outside of those borders.
Mm.
Um, Strong Jupiter chart. So if someone has like a Jupiter rising, maybe even like a Pisces rising, because in traditional astrology, Jupiter is their chart ruler. So that can also speak to maybe someone that has like Pisces energy, this idealism, this dreamer, this
Mm-hmm.
wanderlust
Mm-hmm.
energy. So wanting to go to a faraway place and escape to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to Sagittarius, I can also see Pisces wanting to travel. I'm trying to think what else. I think Taurus, what's surprising about Taurus is like you would think that a Taurus,
Yeah.
like
Rigid.
yeah, but like Taurus is that earth sign. It loves sensuality, pleasure, and that embodiment. And so maybe there are places in the world that allows them to experience
Mm-hmm.
that. And so if someone like I notice a lot of Tauruses in my life, they're very like food centric. They're very passionate about cuisine. And
Oh
so
yeah.
that might inspire them to also travel to certain places,
Yeah.
kind of like channeling their inner like food journey blogger type deal. So maybe traveling for different reasons, depending on their signs.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think. My Mars is in Virgo in the eighth house. My Jupiter is in
Okay.
Sagittarius in the 11th house.
Okay, Jupiter and Sagittarius.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
in the
like
11th
the
house.
known travelers. They're big
Okay,
on traveling.
okay. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that. And so what would
Yeah.
someone need, like what information would they need if they wanted to have an astrocartography reading? What would they need to give you? Like their
Yeah, great question. So same details as what one would book a just an astrology chart reading. So your birthplace, your birth date, and your
Mhm.
birth time. If we have those three components, that's all we need. And usually clients that get really excited, they want to like look at the whole world.
Yeah.
I always like need to have to help them like focus. And so I
Mhm.
would ask them questions like, what type of climates do you like? Are you more of like a tropical person? Do you like all four seasons or do you only like the summertime? So do you like being by the sea? Do you like, being by a body of water? That helps me narrow it down. Or by the mountains, you like hiking.
Mhm.
And I do also have a lot of clients that do not know their birth times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it depends on like, do they know it within a range, like a 30-minute and an hour range? We can kind of work with it,
Mhm.
but more than likely they would need a rectification reading. And I know astrologers that I always refer to so that these clients can get the rectification reading first to know their exact birth time. So then we can do the astrocartography reading as accurately as possible.
Yeah, amazing. If has any client come to you and be like, there's no way that I would go to this part of the world. Like it just gives me the ick. Has anyone kind of said that to you?
I've been fortunate enough where I haven't had that. Like the clients that have come to me have been quite open-minded.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of have to also tap into kind of my gut and my
Hmm.
instinct. I'm like, do I feel like this person would like this place or not? I'm like, maybe there's a place where even though the lines say one way, like there's just a feeling, a weird feeling that it's not it. Or maybe they're going through a certain year in their life. We look at their solar return, we look at their annual perfection, what's their time lord of that year, and let's say their time lord's Jupiter. Then going on a Jupiter line that year could be actually very beneficial, be in alignment. So fortunately, I haven't had anyone
Hmm.
be like, no, like, no, that gives me the. I had the opposite issue where someone really wanted to go somewhere, like really,
Oh,
really badly.
yeah.
And I told him, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you, but these are the things to watch out for.
And
I've
did
had
they
the
go?
opposite issue.
Did they
What was
go?
it?
Did they go?
Yeah. I've had situations. I had one client. It wasn't an astrocartography reading. It was looking at their year ahead,
Hmm.
where she wanted to climb Mount Everest at this specific period of time,
Fair.
and I begged her not to.
Okay.
I begged her not to. There were some gnarly transits that was happening around that time.
Wow.
Um, and she's a go-getter. She's
Hmm.
also a Scorpio moon, and she's a go-getter. So she went and she almost died.
Oh my
She almost
gosh.
died. She almost didn't make it. She almost didn't survive. She fell when
Wow.
she was on her way down Mount Everest. And at that time, a coup happened. Like there was a government military takeover at that exact period of time that I told her. I was like, please don't go during this time. But sometimes you gotta let people experience what they came here to experience. So I do my job the best that I can, but my goal is to also not stop people from experiencing what they need to experience.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of when because I obviously do a lot of past life work. And I
Mhm.
remember when I first started doing all the past life stuff, it was always taking me into, before I started working with clients, it was always taking me into like not so nice lifetimes because that's where the healing needed to happen, right? It was like, okay, we're gonna go into
Yeah.
the places where we need to heal. And I was like, oh my God, can I just have like one nice life, one where I was like in my gifts or in my purpose? So, the process that I actually went through, I actually like levitated and then I was flying over the globe and I was being drawn to certain countries, certain places. And then I noticed I was very repulsed by other places like Eastern Europe, for
Mhm.
example. And it's because my soul had had some really horrible experiences in certain places,
Mhm.
and they'd had some really beautiful, aligned experiences that were also aligned to my soul journey here. And it was such a cool
Mhm.
experience. And then I was like, okay, I've landed here. I've landed, and I think it was like
Yeah.
in Peru or something in that lifetime. Um, but yeah, it's so interesting, like from an intuitive perspective, how it's like all these things show up in our life now of what's happening for our transits now, but also
Mhm.
how we still hold the imprints and the karma and the energy in these lands and in these places that can still impact us from our past lifetimes, right?
Yeah, if we're looking at exploring past life with a certain place, it'd be interesting to look at nodal lines. There are
Mm,
nodal lines, like nodal parans. Even though like maybe you have no like direct connection to that place in this lifetime, a lot of people when they travel to like a nodal line, a nodal activation, they're like, why does this feel so familiar? Or they meet people where they're like, I feel like I've known you before, like what's going on?
mhm.
And so I always tell people if they're feeling super stuck, like they feel directionless, aimless, go to like a nodal line.
Yeah.
And so I can help clients with that too. It can kind of redirect them. So they might not have a goal in mind, they just don't want to feel stuck anymore. This
Okay.
kind of shocks them kind of back. Yeah, it's like, oh, wait. And they then know what to do next once they experience that place.
I love that. And would that be the same as like having, like, when I was called to Hawaii and I was called to the Philippines, I had some
Mhm.
huge spiritual experiences and like
Mhm.
continued awakening of my gifts in those
Mhm.
places. And I was very drawn to those places. Like, I just have to go there. Like, those were very
Yeah.
past life experiences for me too. Would that be under the nodal lines, or would
It
those
can be
potentially come up anywhere else?
so that can be under nodal lines. We would have to look at your chart. Sometimes Chiron lines also activates that too. Sometimes Pluto as well.
Yep.
But Pluto can be quite intense. It depends on what happened in the past life. If it was something that was really traumatizing, re-traumatizing that may not be, the best experience. But yeah, it would be dependent, looking at your astrocartography with those places.
Hmm.
Um, but like everyone's experiences will be different because everyone's
Sure.
birth chart has a different story to tell. So one person's Pluto line or Chiron or Mars experience might be very different from somebody else's. It's like different varying degrees of severity
Hmm.
depending on the condition of their chart. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. And what's like one practical exercise or something that people can do out there, maybe monthly, to kind of sync their themselves astrologically with their soul work or their life goals or their business goals? Is there something that someone can do?
So when it comes, let me know if I'm answering your question. Like,
Okay.
are you asking if someone goes to a certain place and it's challenging, what is something that they can do to help? Or
Or
is it?
no, just in
Mhm.
general, like looking at not even just astrocartography, but looking at astrology in general. Like
Yeah,
if someone just in their life wanted to just do like, is there anything that they can do to check in with themselves and
got it.
the
Got
planetary
it.
alignments to support them, just in their everyday life, whether they're just in the same place or whether they're traveling? Is there anything that you recommend that is just super helpful and supportive for them?
Yes. So one thing that I always find helpful is actually this has been something that I've looked at so many clients' charts, and I found that this to be the most productive.
Mm.
Look at where Saturn is transiting Saturn is activated in your chart. Look at where the transiting nodes are being activated in your chart. Those are like the current collective themes that then kind of mirrors back to you on then, okay, you are a participant of the collective consciousness. What are you going to be doing about it on an individual level? And then Saturn oftentimes brings growth, but first through stretching you through
Mm-hmm.
discomfort. And
Mm-hmm.
so by seeing where Saturn is hovering or activating in whichever house in your chart, that can give you a map, a roadmap. It's usually the work that most people avoid,
Mm.
but I find that when you actually do that work, and because a lot of people they like to fall into distractions and like vices, that's
Yeah.
just part of the human condition. Saturn does the opposite. Like
Okay.
people do more, I feel like people should be doing more Saturn work. Not to be masochistic, but it can actually be quite productive.
Yeah.
It can really actually help them elevate to higher timelines, I believe.
Wow. And what about like
Yeah.
where would they be looking in their chart if they really wanted to access that level of like their next level of abundance and whatever that looked like for them? Where would that
When
come?
it comes to their next level of abundance, now taking not looking at transits,
Mm-hmm.
like just looking at one's own natal chart, it would be good to look at your own like natal nodes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your own natal nodes. Look at Chiron. Chiron, a lot of people don't attribute Chiron to abundance, but I actually find that Chiron is a block to abundance. So the more that we work on our own Chiron work, that's also a celestial body in our chart that's considered the wounded healer.
Yes.
The more we work on that, like for especially for people that are growing businesses, stepping into careers,
Mm-hmm.
that's usually like the barrier that we must cross to get
Mm-hmm.
through. The way through our fear is through
Mm-hmm.
the fear. And that's where some people's like biggest vulnerabilities are. That can help activate next levels of abundance. Another one is Black Moon Lilith.
Oh,
Black Moon Lilith is also a really great place, especially for like divine feminine empowerment, which also can lead to abundance. Like those are the less obvious placements that people look at because oftentimes people are like, look at where your Jupiter is, look at where your second house is, look at where your eighth house is. But that's so obvious. But the
yeah.
harder work, the more rewarding work is Chiron and Black Moon Lilith for abundance.
And have you found that there's certain themes that will come up with a lot of people that you've noticed? They're like, oh, there's that one again. There's that one again. in people's Chiron and Black Lilith?
So I don't think it's an accident because I personally have Chiron in Leo. So I actually attract a lot of clients that have Chiron in Leo.
Okay, yeah,
And
always.
so it's a lot of like student teacher, like we're reversing roles because
Yeah,
we're all mirrors of one another. So I'm
yeah,
both the student and teacher. My clients, they teach me, I teach my clients and vice versa.
same.
Um, I, yeah, I attract a lot of clients with Chiron and Leo, really afraid to show their face, really afraid to be seen in their work, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of invisibility, a lot of hiding. I
Hmm.
attract a lot of people with also Black Moon Lilith in the third house can speak to past experiences feeling persecuted for speaking up,
Hmm.
feeling like they'll get punished for it. It can be the witch wound.
Hmm.
Sometimes, yeah, Chiron in the third house can also speak to that as well, or bullying, so kind of becoming meek to kind of protect yourself. So I work with a lot of clients that are working through this and doing a lot of like throat chakra work. I think that's not a coincidence because I myself have to constantly do it, constantly,
Hmm.
constantly.
I always
Yeah.
say my clients, I'm like, I kid you not. I was like, I've gone through so many of the same things as you. It's like, it's just pure mirror. And you're absolutely right. It's like the student and teacher, we are both student and teacher for each other. Like this is the beautiful dichotomy of these types of relationships when we step into our spiritual work. I think
Yeah.
my Chiron is in Gemini in the fifth house.
Gemini fifth house. Okay. Chiron and Gemini. So actually what you're doing, like having this podcast and speaking, it's actually you're actively working on your Chiron, which is quite beautiful. Like
Yeah.
you're moving it into a medicine state. Like you're turning it, you're transmuting it, alchemizing it into medicine. And fifth house is all about like one's own inner play, inner child, self-expression. Gemini, it is a speaker, it's communicator. And so you're doing all of that, which is quite beautiful.
Amazing. Yay. And you said about the eighth house as well. I actually have quite a lot in my eighth house. I've got my Mercury and Virgo and eighth house.
Eighth house, eighth house is a lot of it can speak to a lot of like unlearning family lineage, generational karma, releasing that.
Yeah.
Like so for example, in China, that's my motherland, that's where my mom's from, my
Wow.
maternal line. I
Yeah.
have a Venus, Uranus, Neptune in the eighth house in my natal chart. So
Hmm.
my eighth house is busy with Venus, Uranus, and Neptune in Capricorn in the eighth house. How that worked out. So a lot of people are like, go to your Venus line. It's so great, right?
You're like,
Yeah, that's when Capricorn eighth house with those placements can speak to like Capricorn. It's all about practicality, pragmatism.
hmm.
And when it's operating in its lower octave, like what happened with me was my parents would take me on a family trip to China. It seemed like an innocent trip. They would tell me to go with them. And then they've arranged us, they were setting me up for an arranged marriage. This
Wow.
happened a couple times. This happened when I was in high school and college.
Gosh.
And they would set me up with families to merge assets and companies
Uh,
because eighth house is merging assets and resources.
wow.
Eighth house can also like seventh house talks about one-to-one relationship, right? Eighth house is the next step. It's now merging assets. It can be
Mm,
merging spousal assets, inheritances, but also debts and loans. And also the energetic stories of like family, like being indebted to family, inheriting these baggages from family. So that's why inheritance
mm,
comes with this energetic energy. It's just it's baggage. It's
hmm.
heavy. It's not all like light, happy fairy dust.
Okay.
And so in China, that was what I had to deal with. Capricorn representing the father. This was my dad's idea, wanting to become more successful in family, like reputation, public eye
Wow.
through the Venus action of merging daughter with another person. And so in China, like really traditional Chinese culture, like you would meet with the guy that your parents want to suit you with, and the guy usually comes from a rich family.
Hmm.
They have like the parents have a really successful business. They're like multimillionaires. They're like, oh, we'll gift you. What do you want? Do you want like a car, like a luxury car? Like how much money? And I'm like, why am I here? Like why? Like
Wow.
I didn't sign up to do this. So I have a very strange,
Yeah,
contentious relationship with my family.
I
It's
100% get that.
it's really messed up.
Yeah.
It's really messed up. So fortunately, luckily, didn't have to fall into that trap. I'm now happily married
Yeah.
with someone that I chose.
Yeah.
That's also not from this culture that I was born in. So
Mhm.
it's not as heavy. Like I don't have to be trapped with family expectations.
Yeah.
So Venus can manifest in t that type of way depending on the condition of the chart. And so the way my Venus is positioned in my chart in the eighth house, you mentioned eighth house,
Hmm.
very karmic,
Wow.
very karmic.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I feel like everyone that moves into this work or chooses to do the spiritual and healing work, they have troubled relationships with their parents growing up, for sure.
Very
Because you're gonna
trouble.
heal it. You're just like, what the fuck? Like you're the black sheep, and you're like, I cannot go through what all this is, and I refuse to do that. Like, please, I need to go a completely different direction. Yeah. So you've got yeah, so I've got Mercury, Venus, Mars, all of them in Virgo in the eighth house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but the beautiful thing, when you say Virgo in the eighth house, it is doing acts of service and really
Mm,
helping other people transmute their karma.
true.
That's actually quite beautiful. And Venus Virgo is quite discerning, and it can be a good thing.
Too
But
discerning.
Venus discerning, but when it comes to love life, like because like it's a good thing though. Like they hold
Yeah.
themselves to a high standard because they've done such hard work.
Yeah.
And oftentimes a lot of people, like if you're dating people, like they haven't done the work. And
So
it's like you really don't want to not like it's hard to find that connection because the effort it needs to be matched. And oftentimes like a lot of people they don't do the work. A lot of people are unconscious, but
yeah.
you are a very powerful healer in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that sounds exactly right. True. It's like my work
Yeah.
is very much that. And yes, relationships are very also much that. Also that. They're just like, just stay single, it's fine. We're good. Uh, what is coming for us collectively, astrologically, in the next like 6 to 12 months that
Oh my gosh.
we should be
Yeah.
aware of, solopreneurs should be aware of, or paying attention to specifically?
Well, two things I'll make note of. There's a lot going on in
Okay.
2026 and 2027. This is a very pivotal period of time. So this at the time of this recording, on Friday, February 20th, we will have that Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries at the 0 degree point.
Mhm.
This is like the beginnings of all beginnings. It's kind of like a reset for the individual self and
Yeah.
how they want to pioneer their life forward. It's a reset point, and it does involve tapping into courage. And something about this energy, I keep hearing the word survival,
Hmm.
fighting for the right to exist,
Wow.
and fighting the right to be a human being in a fast-moving world, especially with Uranus ingressing into sign of Gemini in April.
Hmm.
Once Uranus ingresses into Gemini, it feels like time speeds up even more.
Hmm.
Uranus and Gemini is all about duality. We will see this play out in the geopolitical stage. Can be more conflicts, more arguments, a
Yeah.
lot of political theater happening. And around, I believe, July, the lunar nodes will start new cycles in Aquarius and Leo. North node in Aquarius, South node in Leo.
Mhm.
We will see the ongoing like, unraveling of seeing leaders that are false leaders or leaders that are corrupted being brought down by the Aquarian collective. So it is like fighting for the right to exist, toppling down systems. If there's any year that talks about the revolution,
Yep.
I would say it's 2026, 2027. It's going to be really intense. And so we all need to connect with our own inner leadership.
Yeah.
And this leadership is not from a hierarchy. So
Mm.
it's not like gurus telling people looking down below from a pedestal from an ivory tower on what to do. Everyone is rolling up their sleeves, getting in the dirt, channeling their own leadership, forming grassroots movement, being in community. And this is how we're just gonna be able to make it through
Mhm.
such a tumultuous time, but what a powerful time to be alive and to
Mhm.
witness this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I always say that it's stepping into your own intuitive leadership. And that's why like my purpose is to upskill the next wave of light leaders in their own unique talents, gifts, skills, whether that's channeling light language, whether that's doing mediumship, whether that is their own energy healing modality. It's helping them to carve out their own unique soul role and their soul work so that they can be the change makers, so that they can support then the next wave, and we can only lead. And I always call everyone, my program's called the Rebel Psychic School, right? For a reason, practical magic for the
Yeah.
rebel soul. And it's like everyone that comes into my world is a rebel soul because we are all here to, move to the beat of our own drum. We are here to go against societal norms. We are here to speak out about injustice. We aren't here to be sheep and follow. So and the only way that you can do that is by having tools like that you share, or just by developing your own connection to yourself, to your own truth, to your
Yes.
intuition, to your soul, to your guides. That is what we're truly here for. And when we're connected to ourselves, it's like this is how we move things forward. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love what you're doing. I'm 100% aligned with your mission. And yeah, new paradigm leadership is here. And so in order to break through to that, we have to channel our own inner rebel, but rebel with a cause.
Rebel with a
With a
cause.
cause.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love it because I was going to ask you, I was like, what does rebel soul mean to you? And I think you've just answered it.
Yeah, rebel with a cause. Like,
Yeah.
don't start conflict and war just for the sake of throwing fire with fire,
Mhm.
but have that fire be purposeful, be directed to forge something powerful from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are you working on at the moment? Is there anything you want to share with the audience? And how can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently I'm in process of hauling my whole life to
Hmm.
relocate to Bangkok, Thailand. But the best way to connect with me is probably through my Instagram and my website. So my website is michellesaya.com. I am active on my email newsletter.
Hmm.
So I like to share whatever is coming through in the moment. Whether I am, there's a tool that I want to share with the community that could be very helpful for their business or through the lens of astrology. Whether it's like a cause that I am currently really passionate about, that I really want to help and lift up that voice, I will share it with my community. So, newsletter is a really great way. Easily sign up by just typing in michellesaya.com or sending me a hello in the DMs over on Instagram at Michelle underscore Saya. That's how you can keep up to date with whatever I'm going through in life and business.
And doing such a huge move from the States to Thailand. She's following her own tools, guys. She is taking the big moves, listening to her astrocartography, and doing the thing that she lives by. So it works.
Wish me luck, cross his fingers. And I'll definitely use myself as a case study on what happens. I'm going to share both the good and bad because there's no such thing as perfection.
Hmm.
And I'm going on my Jupiter MC line in Thailand. Yeah, this year is my Jupiter Time Lord year. So my 10th house is activated my annual perfection.
Mm.
So Jupiter's my year, and I'm like, why not just move to a Jupiter line? So here we go.
Here we go. And like I said before
Yeah.
we jumped on the call, it feels very expansive for you. The word freedom keeps coming up. So it's like, but like you said, there's dichotomy, there's duality with everything. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, but it feels like an expansion of your heart. So I love that for you.
Thank you for saying that. And thank you for seeing me. It's just been such a pleasure to connect with you again and to just share such powerful work with you. I think there is a continual rising of spiritual consciousness in the world, and we need to have more conversations like this. Like, I want people to let go of that fear, come out of their own spiritual closet, because a lot of people are holding very, very powerful gifts,
Absolutely.
and it's time to share them. It's time to share them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I love that you said spiritual closet because I use that all the time. I'm like, you got spiritual closet, you need to come out because I had my own, like you, spheres of being in the spiritual closet. And I've honestly never seen anything. A lot of my clients are in the States. When it comes to the suppression of religion with spirituality, I've never seen it play out so much than in the States. So, it's such
Yeah.
a hotbed of spiritual suppression, all around the world. Of course, we have our own narratives around it. But yeah, it's so important to share that and to let everyone know that you're not alone. You have the support, we have the tools to be able to support you in your next phase of your journey and your calling and what you're here to do. And how you're here to be of sacred service to other people, not just for your own life, but actually for other people, because that's the bigger mission here.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yay. I will share all of Michelle's details in the summary below, guys. So thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. Such a wonderful conversation. Until the next time, guys, we will see you later.